As we come to the business question, Shadow Leader of the House, Lucy Powell.
To ask the Leader of the House for the forthcoming business.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The business for the week commencing the 29th of April will include, on Monday the 29th of April, consideration in committee and remaining stages of the Post Office Horizon System Offences Bill. On Tuesday the 30th of April, consideration of Lord's amendments to the Digital Markets Competition and Consumers Bill. Wednesday the 1st of May, remaining stages of the Automated Vehicles Bill, Lords. Thursday the 2nd of May, a debate on a motion on security in the Western Balkans, followed by a general debate on pension schemes. The subjects for these debates were determined by the Backbench Business Committee. The House of Commons will rise for the early May bank holiday at the conclusion of business on Thursday the 2nd of May and return on Tuesday the 7th of May. The provisional business for the week commencing the 6th of May will include, on Monday the 6th, the House will not be sitting, Tuesday the 7th of May, a general debate on defence, Wednesday the 8th of May, consideration in committee of the Finance No. 2 Bill, Thursday the 9th of May, business to be determined by the Backbench Business Committee, and on Friday the 10th of May, the House will not be sitting.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. The awful events in Wales yesterday will have been traumatic for students, staff and parents, and our thoughts are with all of those affected. Can I also pay tribute to Frank Field? The words said about Frank in recent days really reflect who he was: principled, determined, relentless, kind, generous and funny. His tireless campaigning against poverty and for opportunity and education changed the lives of so many children who will never know. My thoughts are with his family and friends. Firstly, as someone well experienced in divided, weak governments, does she share my concern that the SNP has broken their power-sharing deal, which their leader said only last night was in the best interests of Scotland, and now leaves the people of Scotland even worse off? Under the SNP government, 1 in 6 Scots are on the NHS waiting list, and people face higher bills and higher taxes. Is that why the Scottish Greens, their former partners, accuse them of selling out future generations, does she think? He says from a sedentary position it's got nothing to do with business questions. It absolutely does. I'm asking the Leader for her opinion on these matters. Madam Deputy Speaker, another week, another litany of problems for the government. Last week, it was more scandal and internal positioning. This week, a catalogue of failings. Their flagship childcare pledge in tatters. They've spent months in denial, yet this week the Department for Education finally admitted what many parents have been experiencing, that their rollout targets are, and I quote, problematic. The spending watchdog yesterday warned that their plans do not achieve their primary aim or demonstrate value for money. Their report was damning about the DfE's oversight and planning for new places. Can she guarantee its full delivery is on track? This really is the reverse Midas touch government. Only they, at this point in time, could turn what should really be a popular policy into such a vote loser. Another popular policy they've turned to dust is their pledge on renters' rights. Ahead of report stage yesterday, the government tabled hundreds of amendments. Again, a poor reflection of her oversight of the legislative agenda. Amendments which water down this weak bill even further, with no guarantee that banning Section 21 evictions will ever now happen. It's no wonder the Renters Reform Coalition has pulled their support from the bill, isn't it? Despite finally passing their Rwanda legislation, it's now emerged that around 100,000 illegal migrants will languish in hotels at the taxpayers' expense in perpetuity, unable to be removed or even processed because of their last piece of legislation. How is stopping the small boats going? They promised levelling up, yet the chair of Middlesbrough Football Club and former Ben Houchen superfan said the Tees Valley Mayor is giving away our children's future by his management of the Tees Valley Development Corporation. He's right, isn't he? And in perhaps what will become their most lasting and damaging legacy, more worrying evidence today about generation lockdown. Not only massive school dropout and absenteeism rates, but drinking more too, because this government failed to put in place the catch-up support needed. It's no wonder this country is crying out for change. How is the leader feeling about her party's chances next week? I think we all want to know. I see there is a general debate when we're back after the local elections. Is that in anticipation of something? To keep members opposite away from Westminster? Because there's a lot of important legislation we're still waiting on. Has she...
I hesitate to interrupt the Honourable Lady, but I will do so now before she comes to her peroration. The Honourable Lady, earlier in her questioning, has referred to matters in the Scottish Parliament and has asked the opinion of the Minister. And again, she has, just in her immediate last remarks, asked the opinion of the Minister on a general political matter. This is a business question. It's about the business of the House. Now, I let it go very wide. It doesn't have to be exactly on the business of the House for next week. But the Honourable Lady's questions ought to relate to the business of the House of Commons. So if she would like to phrase her questions, rather than asking the opinion of the Minister, to ask a question in relation to the business before us, that would be perfectly in order.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I was asking why it is that we're not seeing the legislation coming forward the week after the local elections, which has been much demanded by both sides of this House around the Criminal Justice Bill, the Sentencing Bill. There are many other things that could come before us, but we see the day is very light the day we come back after the local elections. And I'm just wondering why that is, Madam Deputy Speaker, because I wonder whether the Leader of the House herself has cleared her diary that day too, and perhaps that's why we have such a light business the week we come back. Because the truth is, no matter how much their mayors and candidates hide behind their green and purple branding, there's no escaping the fact that they are standing on the woeful record of this Tory government. We have a plan, and they might not like it, but we do, to bring down waiting lists, to deliver lower energy bills, to build more homes, and as we have set out today, to reform our railways in the interests of the travelling public, not more free cash, as some have said. The truth is, a vote for the Conservatives is a vote for this chaotic mess to continue. If people want change, don't they have to vote Labour next Thursday?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. First of all, can I add my thoughts and sentiments to all those affected by the appalling events in Wales, and hope that community recovers swiftly. Can I also place on record my sadness at the loss of our former colleague Frank Field, who was MP for Birkenhead for more than 40 years. When I was going for candidate selection for the Conservative Party, one of the questions I was asked was who in the Labour Party I most admired, and my answer was Frank Field. Many knew him for his relentless work on combating poverty and the causes of it, but he had many other interests that he pursued with equal vigour, and I was particularly pleased to work with him on trying to secure new ships to be built in the UK. And he was also a fellow Brexit campaigner. The connection he had to the people he served and the duty he felt towards them and never wavered from was profound. And I want to send my deepest sympathy to all who knew and loved him. Could I also pay tribute to Dame Elizabeth Gardner, DCB, Casey, for her service as First Parliamentary Counsel. She is the first woman to hold this role in its 150-year history, and she has had a very, very busy 8 years. I want to place on record my thanks to her for her service, wish her well, and also congratulate Jessica de Mountenay, who succeeds her. The Honourable Lady asks me about the SNP. I'm sure we will come to that shortly. But the Greens leaving the coalition does, I thought, provide the Labour Party with an opportunity. I thought a memo had gone out for the front bench to go easy on the SNP with a view to perhaps forming some sort of coalition and alliance with them north of the border. The Honourable Lady and her party talk a good talk, she just has, on childcare, on ensuring people have a warm, secure home, and of course on levelling up the Tees Valley. But it is the Conservatives that are delivering the largest expansion of free childcare. It is the Conservatives that have built 2.5 million new homes and are getting people onto the housing ladder. And it is a Conservative mayor, Ben Houchen, that has delivered regeneration for the Tees Valley and an employment rate above 3% of the national average. Again, in response to the need for more and better competition, the Conservatives are introducing legislation and schemes to strengthen the arm of the consumer, like Fair Fuel's Pump Watch. Labour's answer reduces competition further and is a return to the British rail sandwich. The move announced today that the Honourable Lady touts, which the Shadow Transport Secretary says will be done at zero cost, but we read will actually require £10 billion of additional funding, won't also deliver any fare decreases or improved services. It is socialist ideology over practicality. Even Lou Adams, ASLEF's former Secretary-General, said, and I quote, "In the public sector, all we got was cuts, cuts, cuts." Today, there are more members in the union, more train drivers, more trains running. The reality is that it has worked and we have protected jobs and we've got more jobs. The Honourable Lady raises the issue of Rwanda, and in response to the need for the British government to control access to the UK by foreign nationals, the Conservatives have been doing the hard yards of institutional and legal reform, introducing legislation establishing the Rwanda scheme, and the Home Secretary is working to modernise the international frameworks that govern this. In contrast, Labour have voted hundreds of times against that legislation and say that they will scrap the Rwanda scheme even if it is working. And instead they are pursuing a quota scheme that would see immigration rise. We will never do that. She talks of change. The Labour Party haven't changed at all. While Labour have been scoffing prawn cocktails, they've been devising 70 new business burdens they're planning on introducing. While posing next to submarines, they voted to scrap our deterrent, several members of their front bench, and are refusing to match our baseline on defence spending. And while they criticise and sneer at those that do not celebrate the St George's flag, they are allowing some of them to occupy the Labour front bench. Today's Labour Party are packed with the same old socialists and a few new plastic patriots, and no amount of window dressing can
Order. Before the Right Honourable Lady finishes, I have a point of order. I can take a point of order if it relates directly to the matters that we're now discussing.
Absolutely, Madam Deputy Speaker. Madam Deputy Speaker, the Leader of the House is just misleading the House. She talks of... The Leader of the House has just said...
No, hold on. The Honourable Lady cannot accuse the Leader of the House of misleading the House. That would be quite wrong, and if she had done something along those lines, then I would have stopped her immediately. If the Honourable Lady means that she disagrees with the Leader of the House, that's a different matter.
Madam Deputy Speaker, it's a matter of fact that this side of the House celebrated St George's Day. We all put it on our social media. The leader of our party has made a point of wrapping himself in the flag. The Leader of the House is completely incorrect in what she just said to the House.
I think the Honourable Lady means that anything the Leader of the House might have said would have been inadvertently.
Oh. Well, I hope,
yes.
Madam Deputy Speaker, if the Leader of the House will correct the record right now.
I wanted to take that point of order while the Leader of the House is still on her feet. I'm quite sure that the Leader of the House did not intend to make any misdirection. Would she care to take?
I had finished my response to the Honourable Lady opposite, but I'm happy to add the truth hurts.
So, order. Let us just be very clear about this. We will be taking questions which relate to the business of the House. Vice Chairman of the Backbench Business Committee, Bob Blackman.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I bring good news from the Honourable Member for Gateshead, Chairman of the Backbench Business Committee, whose daughter-in-law is recovering, which is good news, and he hopes to be back next week. Can I add my condolences to the family of Lord Field? I had the opportunity of meeting him when I was a student at Liverpool University, and he was a redoubtable campaigner, everything he believed in, one of those people that I profoundly respect as well. On behalf of the Backbench Business Committee, Madam Deputy Speaker, in addition to the business my right honourable friend has announced, on Thursday the 9th of May there will be a debate on miners and mining communities and a debate on the BBC Mid-Term Charter Review. If we're given the time for Thursday the 16th of May, we've offered a debate on the PHSO report on women's state pension age, which is extremely well subscribed. And indeed, if we're given the 23rd of May, a debate on UK arms exports to Israel and inequalities to dementia services. For good news, Madam Deputy Speaker, we filled up the business for Westminster Hall on Tuesdays until the Whitsun recess, with debates on costs associated with illegal immigration, the impact of smartphones on social media, the introduction of UK-made zero-emission buses in the UK, and on Thursdays, global health agencies and Global Intergenerational Week. So the Backbench Business Committee has been aiming to get as many debates on the agenda as possible, but as always, if members have got requests, please submit them by Friday lunchtime and we'll deal with them as appropriate as we can. Over the weekend, Madam Deputy Speaker, I spoke to a number of women who are frightened on walking home after dark. The fact is that the rise in crime in London has been dramatic, the rise in knife crime has been dramatic, and the Metropolitan Police are the only police force in the country that have failed to meet their recruitment target. So could we have a statement next week on actions the government is going to take to make sure that actually we have the police that are needed in London to make women and men feel safe when they're travelling home?
Leader of the House.
Well, can I firstly thank the honourable gentleman for his stepping up and making that very helpful announcement for backbench business in the forthcoming weeks. And I'm sure that the whole House would want to send their good wishes to the honourable member for Gateshead and his family. And it is very good news that his daughter is making a recovery, and we send all our love to him and his family. He is absolutely right to point to the failings of the London Mayor. London has got less safe, crime is on the rise, and particularly violent crime, and it is no surprise to me to hear that the honourable member, his constituents, are very concerned about that. Unfortunately, many of the areas he mentions are the responsibility of the Mayor of London, but there is something not just that government members can do, but the general public, Londoners, can do in the coming days, and that is to vote in a new Mayor of London. And I think that people will agree you are indeed safer with Susan.
SNP spokesman Deidre Brock.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And can I associate myself with the dreadful news from the comments made about the dreadful news from Wales and on Frank Field, of course. Now, I make no apology for starting this week where I finished last week. The leader may recall I asked whether or not we could have a debate on the new Brexit border controls due to come into effect next week. Answer came there, none. But then it became clear later on. The Financial Times reported within hours of my question, and I quote, "The UK government has told the country's port authorities that it will not turn on critical health and safety checks for EU imports because of the risk of significant disruption. The new border system will not be fully ready." It's been called a phased implementation approach. Very yes minister speak there from some hapless civil servant trying to excuse the sixth such delay. More delay, more confusion for business, but no statement from the minister. Madam Deputy Speaker, Scotland's importers, exporters, agricultural and hospitality sectors and businesses, large and small, are all at their wits' end because the Tories insist on imposing their Brexit folly on us. Brexit is estimated to be costing salmon producers, the largest food export in the UK, up to £100 million a year. Tourism in the Highlands and Islands has been devastated, with staff shortages affecting 45% of businesses to date. Brexit was named as the main difficulty for 44% of businesses in Scotland trading overseas. Another example, before the latest delays were announced, the chair of the Chilled Food Association, which represents 30 trade and professional organisations, said every time there is a proposal from the UK government, people invest in paperwork and computer systems, and then the government changes the rules again. Since 2021, £200 million will have been spent on just one export health certificate. A recent report found the UK economy shrunk by £140 billion, with the average citizen around £2,000 worse off, thanks to good old Brexit that Scotland didn't vote for. Yet this place shuts its eyes to the devastating impact it's having on people's lives and businesses. Now, Scots are accustomed to being ignored and overruled and treated with disdain by this government, but being dragged out of the EU against our will has been an economic and a social disaster for us. No party can claim to be the party of business and back Brexit. So can I urge her to overcome this vow of silence, of omerta between the Tory and Labour parties on this, and tell us when we can have an urgent debate on the effect of Brexit, starting with this disastrous delayed Tory trade tax?
Leader of the House.
Well, thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Despite what the Honourable Lady says, we have now become the fourth largest exporter in the world. I shan't annoy the Honourable Lady by listing off how well the nation is doing on our trade, on fishing, on many of the things that we wanted to see improve and give people new opportunities for, because I know that it would irritate the Honourable Lady. And it is no surprise to me that the SNP do not want to face realities. They don't want to engage with the trader service that is supporting business very well, or the fact that we are creating an interface directly between the IT systems in businesses and the legacy government systems such as HMRC and others, so that we reduce bureaucracy for those traders and support them in meeting their ambitions. No surprise they don't want to deal with the reality of the situation, given the reality of the situation now for the SNP, a minority administration, their failings and some very serious issues that are we all know are now subject to prosecution as well as investigation, means that not even the Greens want anything to do with them.
Nickie Aiken.
Madam Deputy Speaker, may I first pay tribute to Lord Frankfield myself. He was one of my political heroes, to be honest, and I first met him as a 20-year-old student with the Right Honourable Member for Harrow. As his constituency MP, I am delighted to inform the House that Lord Field continued to correspond with me on the issues and campaigns that he cared for right up until the end of his life. Madam Deputy Speaker, as part of our national health strategy, we put much emphasis, rightly, on eating healthily and also physical exercise, but we do not take sleep into account. And I am delighted to highlight the report that the Sleep Charity has published today, Dreaming of Change, a Manifesto for Sleep, where it highlights the serious mental health and physical health issues that having lack of sleep can cause both children and adults. So would my right honourable friend consider a debate in government time on the vital public health importance of getting more sleep?
Well,
Can I thank the Honourable Lady for raising this incredibly important issue? And actually, it is a very positive public health campaign that we could run. Rather than tell people not to drink, not to smoke, we should be also asking them, have they had enough sleep? I think it's a very positive campaign, and we should be very proud of the research that has been done on this in the UK. Professor Russell Foster at Oxford University has done amazing work which is leading to improvements in the general population, but also particularly the veteran community that have suffered blast injuries and lost their sight. I would be very happy to raise what the Honourable Lady has said today with the Secretary of State for Health. I think it is a very good initiative that she is campaigning on.
John Cryer.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I associate myself with the comments about our old friend Frank, who I knew for many, many years? It's widely acknowledged, I think, in this chamber and elsewhere that Iran is run and controlled by a bunch of clerical fascists and homicidal maniacs who have now taken to attacking people on British soil, which is a bit of a break with what used to happen. But there is a difference of opinion as to how we should respond to this, particularly with regard to the IRGC. I know we've had plenty of statements and UQs on Iran. Could we have a statement next week?
Yeah. Well, the Honourable Gentleman raises an issue which is a regular theme at business questions and throughout the week. These are very serious matters, and he is right that this activity isn't limited to the Straits of Hormuz or other parts of the world. It is happening on British soil. Our citizens are being threatened, and indeed many representatives, councillors and other people that hold public office are also having to have protection from such appalling campaigns against them and death threats. I will make sure that the FCDO has heard what he has said and encourage them to update the House.
Greg Smith.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The United Kingdom has a vibrant classic car sector, but the DVLA seems to have taken against them somewhat, forcing cars that have had modest repairs onto queue plates, or even for heinous crimes such as fitting seatbelts. From attending the HGVA's Heritage Matters Day during Easter recess and from my own inbox, the problems do seem to be getting worse. I've raised this in the Transport Select Committee numerous times, but the problem isn't going away. So can we have a debate in government time to iron out these issues and ensure the Department for Transport gets a grip on the DVLA's attitude to the classic car sector?
Leader of the
Well,
House.
I would be very happy to raise what the Honourable Gentleman says with the Transport Secretary, as Transport Questions is not until the 16th of May. But this is also a matter for an enormous number of UK businesses. This is not just about people's own personal vehicles. There is an enormous export market here, and of course British motorsport and motoring is something that that Britain is very much known for. So this is a very important matter, and I congratulate the Honourable Gentleman for campaigning on it, and I will make sure that all relevant Secretaries of State have heard what he has said.
Barry Sheerman.
Madam Deputy Speaker, Frank Field was a great mate, and we even forgave him in the end for his daft views on Brexit. But he was a great guy, great colleague, and we miss him dearly. Can I seek the guidance of the Leader of the House this morning? Genuinely, I'm not trying to make a political point. We have worked very hard, and my honourable friend sitting in front of me played a big part in making sure that standards in this House were of the highest order. This Parliament, its reputation, is based on standards here and in the upper house. Is it possible she could have a conversation with her senior colleagues in the House of Lords? I don't know if she saw a Sunday Times article just recently that the Earl of Oxford and Asquith was a former MI6 chief in Moscow, is a lobbyist for a man in the US believed to be involved in Russian gang crime. There is a group, everybody knows, a group in the upper house, very close to Russia. Could we look into this, because it will be impinging on Parliament if this isn't dealt with?
Order. Is the Honourable Gentleman relating this to the business of the House?
Can I have an early debate on it?
I'm grateful to him. Thank you. I hope that others will follow his learned example. Leader of the House.
Well, I will answer the honourable gentleman with the same good faith that he asked that question. I think if the honourable gentleman has serious concerns about anyone on the parliamentary estate, he needs to raise that formally and in the appropriate way with the House authorities. And I think that would be the right course of action if he had genuine concerns about anyone.
Ian Liddell-Grainger.
Thank you. I don't quite agree with the last answer the leader gave. We know who we're talking about, and I do agree with the other side. But can we have a debate in government time about something I've brought up before, the Three Rivers development in Mid-Devon? It is now becoming a cover-up, and it's becoming a financial scandal. The chairman of the Scrutiny Committee has done a runner and has slunk away to a co-rented accommodation in Bampton, which is a disgrace. I'm afraid this is now becoming a serious issue for local government. Mid-Devon has no scrutiny, no responsibility, and absolutely no idea what it's doing. In government time, can we talk about local government that is not taking its financial responsibilities seriously and are covering up major issues?
Leader of the House.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear what sounds a very concerning issue that is affecting the honourable gentleman's constituents. Given that the next question to the Secretary of State is not until June, I will make sure that he has heard what the honourable gentleman has said today.
Wera, Hobhouse.
Madam Deputy Speaker, and may I add my condolences to the family of Lord Field. He was an exceptional man, an outstanding politician, and I had the privilege to have him at least for 2 years while he was still a Member of Parliament. Madam Deputy Speaker, working or studying in other countries has wide-ranging benefits for young people. Perhaps the saddest outcome from Brexit is that the number of UK young people working and studying in other EU countries and young people from the EU working and studying here has dramatically reduced. In order to reverse this worrying trend, the EU proposed youth mobility visas last week, but the government rejected them outright, although they would also have brought wide-ranging and welcome boosts to our economy. Can we have, and please, I mean that also in good faith, have a statement from the government why this proposal was rejected outright and why and what the government is proposing to boost youth mobility between EU countries and the UK?
Leader of the House.
Well, I thank the honourable lady for raising this issue. She will know that our approach has been to widen opportunities for our citizens and give them more choice about where they might want to study abroad. I think that the Secretary of State did put out a statement explaining why this scheme was not deemed to be in our interest, and it was due, I think, to the nature of the fact it was not going to be reciprocal.
Daniel Kozinski.
Thank you very much. I'd like to, this is the first time in my 19 years as a Member of Parliament where I'm raising this sort of frustration and complaint, so I hope my right honourable friend realises the seriousness of it. I wrote to the Foreign Secretary over a month ago about a British citizen whose husband is being held illegally in a foreign country without trial. I have repeatedly tried to ask the Foreign Secretary for a reply. I've gone to the Deputy Foreign Secretary to chase things up, and still nothing. I find it wholly unacceptable that the Foreign Secretary has not replied to me in over a month of correspondence when I'm raising the rights of a British citizen whose husband is being kept in appalling circumstances abroad. It is his duty and responsibility to write and respond to members in a timely fashion. Would she please take this issue up for me with the Foreign Office?
I'm very sorry to hear that, and this is obviously clearly an incredibly pressing matter. If the honourable gentleman will give me further details after business questions session, I will raise it immediately with the Foreign Office and ensure that he gets the ability to speak to the people he needs to do his duty by his constituents.
Liam Byrne.
Thank you. The leader advised me on how we bring ministers to the House to account for the decisions they've taken on arms export licences. As the leader will know, the Select Committee on Business and Trade assumed responsibility for oversight of arms export licences in January. At the beginning of April, an important legal judgment was issued by the ICJ. We therefore held our first hearings on arms export licences to Israel yesterday. We gave ministers 20 days' notice to come and attend, together with detailed questions in correspondence. I am grateful to the Deputy Foreign Secretary for his apology to me yesterday for the Foreign Office not fielding a minister. I have had no such correspondence or contact from the Department for Business and Trade. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is not acceptable. Ministers are politically accountable to Parliament. Yes. This is a matter of extreme interest to the House, and it is part of ministers' legal responsibility that they are politically accountable. So can the leader advise me on what steps she can take next week to ensure a minister answers for the judgments the government has made?
Leader of the House.
Well, I know that the Right Honourable Gentleman takes these new responsibilities very seriously, and he will also know that both departments have made it very clear that they are perfectly happy to attend and be scrutinised for those decisions and answer questions for the government's position. I know 20 days' notice sounds a long period of time. He will understand that those particular ministers may have travel obligations and therefore may not have been able to make that particular date. And I know that last Friday he knew that they would not be able to make that session that I think took place yesterday. I also know that the Deputy Foreign Secretary did speak to him and has reassured him, I hope, of his intention to field a minister for his committee. I hope that reassures the Honourable Gentleman. I'm not telling him anything he doesn't already know. That is their intention to attend. And I am very sure that no such stunts that took place yesterday will be required to get them to do so.
Rob Halfon.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Can we have a statement on Harrow Conservative Council and the success of the Conservative administration? My right honourable friend will be aware that the Conservative-led Harrow Council has cut and frozen council tax for 3 years and protected public services, vital public services, as well as clearing the housing backlog and securing millions of pounds in government investment to build an even better Harrow. Harrow Conservative Council is currently led by the youngest ever council leader in political history, Mr Dan Swords, who was a former apprentice in my office. Will my right honourable friend agree that how Harrow Council leads, other councils should follow? And will she encourage everyone in Harrow and across the country to vote Conservative on the 2nd of May?
Well, can I thank my right honourable friend for the congratulations he gives to Dan and the other councillors who have done so much for their community. That he is proof that age is not relevant, but political hue is. And again, elsewhere we have in the West Midlands, Andy Street has been following Harlow's example. He has never raised any taxes. He doesn't charge an additional precept, yet he has brought billions into his investment into his region. And in stark contrast to Sadiq Khan in London, who has increased the mayoral precept by over 70%, and Labour-run Birmingham, who are increasing council tax by 21%. To pay for their errors. It's very clear, if you want better services at lower cost, vote Conservative.
Emma Liuba.
Much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Like many across this House, I was utterly floored to hear the sad news of my friend Lord Field's passing. A life devoted to help the those in poverty, especially children. We worked together on the Hunger APPG, Holiday Activities and Food Bill and Food Insecurity Bill. We then set up Feeding Britain, a national charity that continues to alleviate hunger across the UK. But we both also knew that our charity should not have to exist in a country as rich as ours. With over 4 million children in poverty, does the leader not agree it would be a fitting tribute to our dear friend to hold an urgent debate on ending child poverty?
Leader of the House.
Well, I thank the Honourable Lady for, again, as many other members have highlighted, Frank Field's legacy and the work of the organisations that he helped found and has worked with will continue. She will know that we have brought forward a cost of living package which now exceeds £108 billion. She will also know that there are many fewer, hundreds of thousands of fewer children living in absolute poverty and over a million fewer workless households. And that is a record that we stand on and that we want to continue.
Sarah Atherton.
In Europe, with more businesses seeking to invest, expand and export, and as businesses grow, so do opportunities. And I was pleased to visit a newly established Centre for International Trade Support, which helps companies identify and understand and reach global markets. So would the Right Honourable Lady congratulate Clive Barnard and his team on their new business venture and consider a debate in government time on export opportunities?
Leader of the House.
Well, can I thank the Honourable Lady for drawing the House's attention to this new venture, and I'm sure we all want to send our good wishes to Clive and his team on their new business venture. Wrexham's international profile has grown in recent times, and that is providing a strong hook for local businesses to take advantage of global markets and our new trade agreements. And can I thank the Honourable Lady for all the work she has been doing to ensure that her constituency is on the map. The investment zone is going to place Wrexham at the absolute leader in the field of advanced manufacturing, as well as the creative and digital sectors. And we expect this to encourage further growth with up to £160 million of support for the zone, which is going to help protect tens of thousands of existing skilled jobs and creating many thousands more. And I congratulate her on her part in it.
Dawn Butler.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Madam Deputy Speaker, the Counter-Disinformation Unit, now named the National Security and Online Information Team, its remit is to tackle the greatest national security risks facing the UK and mis- and disinformation which causes risks to election. Madam Deputy Speaker, disturbingly, there's been a racist letter riddled with misinformation and disinformation posted out to all Hindus in Brent and Harrow, attacking our current mayor, the Mayor of London, and our Assembly member, Krupesh Hirani, incorrectly stating that Sadiq and Krupesh, they don't care about Hindus, which is a complete and utter lie. With 1 week to go until the mayoral elections, will the Minister condemn, with the Leader of the House, condemn the letter and ensure that NSOIT investigates said letter and ensure that we can have a debate on the floor of this House in the role of NSOIT?
Leader of the
Well,
House.
I thank the Honourable Lady for raising it. She will know that there are ways that any concerns about election literature or anything like that can be addressed, and clearly if she thinks that a criminal offence has been committed, she should raise that with the police, and I'd suggest that's the best course of action for her.
Pauline Leyton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Our sanctions on the Russian Federation are much needed, but they are being undermined by a weak, politically compromised global money laundering system, which means Russia is, as a result, not on any domestic money laundering blacklist. Could we have a debate on how we can strengthen our money laundering regulation, particularly to make sure Putin cannot use UK businesses to finance his illegal war in Ukraine, as he is now?
Well, can I thank my honourable friend for raising this very important matter. She is absolutely right, and she will know that in March of this year, the Treasury launched a consultation on money laundering regulations to further strengthen the effectiveness of that regime and ensure that those regulations are responding to emerging changes and to ensure that the burdens placed on businesses are also appropriate, and I will make sure that the relevant minister has heard her interest in this matter and that she is updated.
Christine Jardine.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Unfortunately, this morning, many of my constituents find themselves in the same position as the two now former Scottish Green ministers, in that they have been cut off from government services. In Kirkliston, the post office is going to close, and that will deny many of my constituents in Edinburgh West access to vital government services. It will also deny them access to cash, since there is no banking facility available within easy reach by public transport. So, could I ask if the Minister, although I know he's very busy with the Horizon scandal, could come to the House and perhaps give us an update on why so many post offices across the country are closing and leaving constituents in the same position as my own constituents?
Well, I'm sorry to hear that is happening in the Honourable Lady's constituency. I will certainly make sure that the Minister for the Post Office has heard what she has said today. I will also ask officials at the Department for Levelling Up to get in contact with the Honourable Lady's office as well. Where this has happened in communities where people are not being able to get access to free cash services, or banks or other bricks and mortar premises are closing, she will know that there are ways where you can ensure that businesses and individuals are having access to those services, and the Department for Levelling Up has a good best practice guide on how that can be delivered.
Philip Holloway.
Deputy Speaker, I bring good news from Kettering, where Kettering General Hospital has become the first hospital in the whole of Europe to insert into over 100 patients the very latest special state-of-the-art implantation loop recorders which diagnose heart rhythm disturbances like atrial fibrillation. In fact, 178 local patients have now benefited from this innovative diagnostic tool. So may we have a statement from my right honourable friend, the Leader of the House, congratulating Kettering General Hospital and its superb cardiac team on this wonderful achievement.
Leader of the House.
Well, we all look forward in business questions to more good news from Kettering, and can I congratulate my honourable friend for all the work that he has done in supporting the hospital and to ensure that the £1.2 million worth of funding that was given to expand and upgrade its facilities, and congratulate him on securing that. I think we can all be very proud that this hospital is one of the first in Europe to fit these particular devices, which I think will make a huge difference to patients. And I'm sure that everyone here would want to congratulate Kettering General Hospital and its cardiac team on this landmark achievement.
Sir Chris Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's standard practice in schools, universities, the NHS, local government and in government departments, if somebody is arrested for or charged with a sexual or violent crime, that there will be a risk assessment made, followed potentially, if necessary, by an exclusion or suspension from work pending further investigations and, if necessary, a trial. The Standards Committee of the House and the House of Commons Commission agrees that we should have something similar for this House. And that's been sitting on the stocks now for several months. The Leader of the House has... I understand, of course, that there are perfectly legitimate questions about exactly how that should operate. But what I don't understand is why the Leader of the House has not tabled the motion that came straight from the House of Commons Commission, which I would think was her duty as Leader of the House. And secondly, why she's pulled the vote on at least one occasion and still hasn't given us a date for us to do that. We really do need to burnish the reputation of this House, not tarnish it. Can she please give us a date as soon as possible so that we can come to a legitimate debate and view on how we can progress this?
Well, I hope to be able to do that at the next business statement that I give. He will understand that we've had a number of pieces of legislation that we have needed to act on, some that was not expected legislation, and we've had to find space for that. He will know that as a member of the Commission I take these matters seriously, and I'd be very happy to bring forward that debate, and I hope it will be announced in my next business statement.
Martin Vickers.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
In her opening remarks, my right honourable friend referred to the rail network and was rightly critical of Labour's latest proposals to make changes to that. What my constituents want is improved services on the Brigg to Cleethorpes line, the Barton to Cleethorpes line, and through services from Grimsby and Cleethorpes to London. Could we have a debate about the state of the rail industry and the way forward, and how we can actually improve services to customers rather than tinker with the structure?
Well, my honourable friend is absolutely right, and I thank him for his continuing campaign to ensure his constituents can get better rail services and that we are maintaining a good value for money. I will certainly make sure that the Secretary of State for Transport has heard his request and he will know how to apply for a debate in the usual way.
Mary Glendon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. For years now, victims of the Phillips Trust scandal have been trying to get answers to their questions on how they can recover the monies building societies, including the Newcastle Building Society, encourage them to invest in family trusts with unregulated companies. They've been let down at every level, especially by the FCA. Will the Leader of the House please ask the Chancellor to meet with me and representatives of the Phillips Trust Action Group to address this issue quickly?
Leader of the House.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about this situation and thank the Honourable Lady for her ongoing efforts on behalf of her constituents. I will certainly make sure that the Chancellor and relevant ministers have heard her plea.
Mark Eastwood.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. To try and make up for its financial mismanagement, Labour-run Kirklees Council is looking to introduce new car parking charges, punishing hard-working families and destroying our high street in our towns and villages. In a recent damning report, independent auditors said about Kirklees, and I quote, "We have been unable to satisfy ourselves that the Council has made proper arrangements for securing economy, efficiency and effectiveness in use of resources. Would my right honourable friend agree to a debate on the failings of this shambolic Labour-run council?
Well, I'm very sorry to hear this about the honourable gentleman's constituency. When councils use motorists and people going about their daily business as some sort of cash cow to plug gaps in their budget due to their mismanagement, what happens is that you end up with a community in a downward spiral. People can't go to the shops, they don't use those services. It is a disaster. Whether it is in Kirklees or Sheffield or Nottingham or Birmingham or in London, Labour are waging a war against working people and motorists in particular, and that has grave and dire consequences if we really want vibrant communities. I would encourage my honourable friend to continue his campaign against the Council and this particular initiative and urge everyone who has the opportunity to vote in a Conservative Council.
Matt Rodder.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Could I first offer my deepest condolences to Frank Field's family? Madam Deputy Speaker, Thames Water has been putting vast amounts of sewage into local rivers in my area, both the Thames and tributaries, including the Pang, the Lambourne, the Kennet, Foundry Brook. In addition to that, we had an incident recently where hundreds of Reading residents had their water cut off for 2 days, and we stalled to see any compensation for these residents. A similar incident happened in Surrey. To make matters worse, the company now has mounting debts and there's a looming financial crisis threatening its very future. Madam Deputy Speaker, may I ask the Leader of the House if it is possible to have a statement so that government ministers can explain their action to tackle these very serious problems?
Well, he will know that the work going on and the infrastructure work to upgrade our water systems and particularly our wastewater systems, that infrastructure programme is the largest of its kind in the world, and he can track progress against those infrastructure plans on the Water UK website on the dashboard there. Good progress has been made. Just to give you one statistic, when we came into office, less than 7% of overflows were monitored. That is now 100%, and those overflows are going to come down very swiftly in the coming years. But there are particular issues with particular companies, and I will make sure that the Secretary of State has heard his particular concerns about these aspects of Thames Water, as the next questions is not until the 9th of May.
Sarah Brickley.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Residents in Lancashire have had an excellent Police and Crime Commissioner since 2021 in Andrew Snowden, who's prioritised community and neighbourhood policing, recognising that visible policing is one of the key ways to reduce crime and antisocial behaviour. But that is now under threat, with Labour's candidate in the upcoming election being the same person who held the role previously and who did so much damage to Lancashire policing. So will the Leader of the House agree to a debate on the importance of community policing and stations?
Leader of the House.
Well, I know that the Honourable Lady will know how to apply to for a debate, and I would encourage her to do so, because I understand that when the Conservative Police Crime Commissioner came into office, he found out that his predecessor could only balance the books by going ahead and shutting several police stations, including Accrington, Burnley, Chorley. Mr. Speaker would be very disappointed to hear that, Morecambe, and many others, and also making a large number of police staff redundant, the precise people that you want in touch with their communities on a daily basis. In contrast, Andrew Snowden, who has been Lancashire's PPC, has reopened 4 police stations, and he is currently constructing 2 more, and that is the kind of service that people want. They want bobbies on the beat, they want to be able to call in to local police stations, and that is exactly why Andrew Snowden should be re-elected.
James Mark.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In March, I was very glad to get together with the local police and local residents at the Royal British Legion Club in Greenford to thank Arthur Gray for 30 years of service at the Met Police. In recent years, Arthur has been a PCSO for Greenford and Northolt in my constituency, and on his retirement he said, "The biggest joy has been working with residents. It has been a privilege to support the local community and build up long-lasting relationships." Would the Leader of the House join me in sending my sincere and heartfelt thanks to Arthur for all his years of service to the local community?
Yeah. Leader of the House.
Well, I thank the Honourable Gentleman for giving not just me but the whole House the opportunity to say a big thank you to Arthur for his many years of service. It is because of him that our communities are not just safer but stronger and better places to live.
And I expect the Honourable Gentleman wanted to ask for a debate on the matter.
That would be lovely, yes. And the debate would be great as well.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll take that as read on this particular occasion. Anna Firth.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. In stark contrast to London, in Essex, our brilliant Police and Fire and Crime Commissioner, Roger Hurst, has cut knife crime by over 11% in just 1 year. And his hotspot policing model to tackle antisocial behaviour is now being rolled out around the country. But education is also key to tackling knife crime, which is why, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm working with Roger Hurst and with our City Cabinet member, Councillor James Courtney, also up for election next week, to bring the Knife Angel to Southend.
Very good.
So would my honourable friend agree with me that the best way to continue cutting crime, particularly knife crime, is to re-elect Roger Hurst next week and all Conservative councillors on the 2nd of May?
Yeah.
And could we have a debate, please, on how we could strengthen the successful PCC model?
Yeah.
Well done. Approving nods from Madam Deputy Speaker there for being in order. Yes, vote for Roger, vote for James, if you want that positive trend to continue. And I congratulate my honourable friend for the work she is doing to get the Knife Angel project to come to her constituency. And I think we should put on record our thanks to that fantastic organisation that has done so much to strip out knives from communities and educate young people.
Patrick Grady.
Speaker, of all the opaque and arcane procedures in this place, the Reasons Committee procedure is perhaps one of the most opaque and one of the most arcane. So I congratulate my honourable friend for Glasgow Central for seeking to amend and then oppose the government's reasons for objecting to the Lord's amendments to the Rwanda Bill in the committees this week. And I note the minutes show that the Labour Party sat on their hands throughout those meetings. But I wonder if we could perhaps make the procedure more transparent simply by the government publishing its reasons on the disagree alongside the disagree motions so that we can have a debate on the context of the reasons that the government want to send back to the Lords for rejecting amendments, and perhaps speed things up without additional votes?
Leader of the House.
Well, there's an offer from the honourable gentleman. I'm always interested in any innovation that honourable members have. It is the Chamber collectively that will make the rules of this place. But I would say to him that I think that the reasons why the government has been pursuing this legislation and why we wanted to have it achieve royal assent in a particular form have been very well made on very many occasions at this dispatch box.
Sarah Owen.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Leader of the House will know we have had many debates in this place relating to the Nolan Principles and MPs. But residents across Bedfordshire in just days will be voting in the Police and Crime Commissioner elections. And it's been reported that back in March, the Police and Crime sub-panel found that the Conservative candidate and current PCC, Festus Akinboseye, has had serious complaints against him upheld. The panel determined that Akinboseye has used, and I quote, unreliable statistics, made false and malicious accusations, and was disrespectful to members of the public, including calling one of them the enemy. Surely residents in Bedfordshire deserve better and to know the panel's full findings. So will parliamentary time be allocated to the importance of Nolan Principles in all elected positions and also the processes that hold them to account?
Well, the Nolan Principles, the principles that run across every aspect of public life, are very important, and they play a very important role in all of our standards and proceedings, both here in the House but also in government as well. I have to say that what the Honourable Lady says is in stark contrast to my experience of the gentleman that she refers to. He has an amazing track record of serving his community, and having actually been out on patrol with him in the area that he serves, he is very highly regarded by those people that I have spoken to on the doorstep.
Order. Don't shout from the backbenches. And I have already said that this is not a time for asking the opinion of the Leader of the House. We're talking about business questions. The Honourable Lady asked her question perfectly well. It's her comments from a sedentary position on which I'm commenting. This is not about opinions. The Honourable Lady has asked a perfectly reasonable question, and it's been answered. Justin Matters.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I add my voice to the tributes paid to Frank Field as a newly elected constituency MP for a nearby seat? Frank's assistance and wisdom was of great help to me at the time, and I know he's held in very high regard by my constituency. His legacy will live on in Ellesmere Port through the Ellesmere Port College and the Frankfield Educational Trust. But can I ask the Leader of the House if we can have a debate, please, on private parking companies? I've had a number of instances recently where these companies seem to be operating to their own rules. Constituents have put appeals in against fines. There seems to be absolutely no consideration given to technical issues, wider questions about why tickets have been issued, and frankly it doesn't seem to me to be anything close to approaching justice in the sense that you and members of this House would understand.
Well, I'm sorry to hear if the honourable gentleman's constituents have been suffering due to poor practice by these firms. He will know that under the coalition government, new measures were introduced to crack down on things like clamping on private land and other practices that came from those sorts of firms. This government takes those issues very seriously. I think the honourable gentleman should, when he gets perhaps the next opportunity, 16th of May, at transport questions or other opportunities or another business question session, if these situations aren't resolved, he should name the companies. He can do that, and I find that that does get more focus from those people in those companies that will be able to help resolve the issues he refers to more sensibly.
Andrew Bridget.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. In last week's backbench business debate on the COVID-19 pandemic response and trends in excess deaths, I asked if it's now accepted
that it was a mistake to give the respiratory suppressant drug midazolam as part of NICE guideline NG163 as treatment for those suspected of having COVID-19. I also asked, should there be legal cases proving unlawful killing linked to overdoses and toxicity from midazolam, who will be held criminally responsible? Will it be the then Secretary of State for Health? Will it be NICE? Will it be NHS England, or will it be the individual doctors and nurses who administered the drug? These questions weren't answered, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can we have a statement from a Health Minister? Because the evasion and gaslighting on this issue has got to end.
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Well, I will certainly make sure that the Secretary of State has heard what he has said, and he gets he will know how to put in he can either write to the department or put in a written question, and there are timeframes under which those questions have to be answered. He has had many debates on these issues, and he has ample opportunity to raise these questions and get answers from ministers. I would also just caution the honourable gentleman in some of the things that he is saying, and again some of the things that he is putting on social media. I don't think any healthcare professional or nurse that administers a vaccine is doing those things for any other reason than the care of the patient in front of them. And to insinuate that they are doing it for other reasons and that they should face consequences for doing their duty and the things that we ask them to do as part of the NHS or other services, I just would say to the honourable gentleman, people might get the wrong idea from the things that he is saying, and I would just urge him, because I know that's not his intention, to just be clear in his communications on these matters.
Keir Mather.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. In recent weeks, I've been running a Selby Shoutouts competition where local people can nominate for recognition SMEs that make an outstanding difference to our local community. And I've been absolutely blown away by the responses that I've had, with 90 different firms being nominated by some 150 local residents. Local people clearly know how crucial SMEs are to our local area, so can we please secure time for a debate on support for SMEs across the wonderful county of North Yorkshire?
Well, can I congratulate the honourable gentleman on what I think is a brilliant initiative. Not only is it helping promote and raise the profile of these fantastic local businesses in his constituency, but also demonstrating that business is a force for good in the world and a force for good in his local community. He will know how to apply for a debate, but I wish the initiative very well.
Joe Jones.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Later today, the House will be debating the Buckland Review on autism employment. However, the Government have just asked a £100 million scheme to support people with disabilities into work. So does the Leader of the House agree that this shows the Government merely paying lip service to supporting those in need? And can we have a debate or statement for the Government to outline and explain its confused position?
Well, first of all, I congratulate my right honourable friend, the member for Swindon, on the work that he has done and all those members who have assisted him in producing this new focus on a very important area. I don't think there's any inconsistency with his work or the government's work on this area. Since 2010, we have 1 million more people with a disability who have the dignity of a pay packet, not just because of the reforms to welfare that we've brought in, but also the health and work support there. And these kinds of disabilities are viewed with much greater focus than they were a few years ago. I think progress is being made, but as my right honourable friend, the member for Swindon, has pointed out, more is needed to be done, and I encourage everyone to take part in the debate later today.
Dame Diana Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I just also wanted to add to the tributes to the late Frank Field. We're very proud in Hull. He was a graduate of Hull University, and I worked with him on making sure that this House delivered the Modern Slavery Act a number of years ago. And he was also one of the first campaigners around the contaminated blood scandal back in the 1980s. Just moving on to the forthcoming business of this House, ministers have told us how important the Criminal Justice Bill is,
And indeed, the Safeguarding Minister yesterday at the Home Affairs Select Committee said it would be back before the House imminently. Can the leader just tell us whether the potential Conservative rebellion over the criminalisation of the homeless is one of the reasons why this bill is not mentioned in the forthcoming business, and whether the bill actually will ever come back before this House?
Well, the Honourable Lady has made her points very well, and I shall make sure that the Home Office has heard them. She will know that I'm going to say to her that further business will be announced in the usual way, but I will take it that she is keen to see it come back.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I also echo the sentiments for Frank Field, who, although his seat was elsewhere, told me on day one he was a proud Chiswickian. Madam Deputy Speaker, week after week, MPs have pushed ministers to restore UK funding for UNRWA, and we've seen lives lost in Gaza all the while. The stock reply back has been that we await the Kelowna review. Well, that review was published on Monday, and yet not a peep from the government. Can we have an urgent statement on this? And now that Canada, Australia, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, Germany, France, Japan, in fact the EU as well, have all unfrozen funding, when will we?
Well, I will certainly make sure that the FCDO has heard what the Honourable Lady has said. These matters are taken extremely seriously, and she will know that the Deputy Foreign Secretary as well has been very concerned about making sure that there is aid and support going in to support people who have been displaced and people who need food, medical attention, and many other things in Gaza and elsewhere. There may be other issues as well as the security issues that she referred to. UNRWA has for a long time been a very financially fragile organisation. What we want to ensure is that people who are in need, who we wish to support, are getting aid, and it is done in a way that doesn't compromise security.
Alison Thewlis. Madam Deputy Speaker, can we have a debate on the kindness of charity fundraisers, such as the team at East Pollock Shields Early Years Centre, who are running the Cancer Research UK Race for Life next month, as Jamal's warriors in memory of 10-year-old Jamal Aslam, who tragically passed away last year from a soft tissue cancer. And when the Leader of the House also agreed that we should thank all those researchers who work so hard to ensure that no families have to go through losing a cheeky, funny and incredibly sweet boy like Jamal to cancer.
Leader of the House. On behalf of the whole House, can I thank the Honourable Lady for giving us the opportunity to send our thanks and good wishes to the Early Years Centre, but again place on record our admiration and thanks to all those working in these important fields of research. We have made dramatic progress in the last few years on many therapy areas, cancer in particular, and we know that survival rates are improving dramatically.
Sarah Dyke.
Madam Deputy Speaker, British farmers are operating on ever narrowing margins in a really volatile market. It's hugely concerning to farmers in my constituency. The red diesel suppliers are encouraging farmers to stock up in case of price rises. Brent crude oil has soared by 16% over the last 3 months. There are conflicts which may escalate in the Middle East, Europe and South America, which could make prices rocket even further. Can I ask the Leader of the House if we can have a debate on the impact of red diesel prices on British farming?
Leader of the House. Well, this is an important matter. I thank the Honourable Lady for raising it. She can raise it herself at the next questions, which is on the 9th, and she will know how to apply for a debate, but I will make sure the Secretary of State has heard what she said.
Kevin Brennan.
Thank you. Tonight is the annual awards of the Music Producers Guild, and in the 23 years I've been in this House, it would have been largely a male preserve for a lot of that time, but tonight, for the first time, over half of the nominees are women, thanks to pioneering work by women producers and engineers like Olga Fitzroy, Catherine Ann Davis and Hannah Peel, which is why we should have a debate on the government's decision to reject the recommendations of the Women and Equalities Committee, Select Committee, on their misogyny in music report. The Naomi Powell, the General Secretary of the Musicians Union, has described being shocked at the fact the government had rejected, and her own honourable friend, the chair of the Select Committee, the member for Romsey and Southampton North, said, "We have had platitudes and reassurance, but still no action." Is she comfortable with what the government's done, and therefore, if she isn't, will she facilitate debate to explore it further?
Well, first of all, I think the improvements on the statistics that he gave at the start of his question are something to be proud of and to show that improvements are being made. I will certainly make sure that the relevant department has heard what the Honourable Gentleman has said today, and given that I am a member of the government, I stand on the government's position.
And the prize for patience and perseverance goes to Christian Wakeford.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. On Monday, the ONS released their report on alcohol-specific deaths for 2022. 10,048 deaths related to alcohol, which is a 32.8% increase on pre-pandemic levels and the highest on record. It's been over a decade since the government had an alcohol strategy. So can we have a statement from the government on what it is doing to tackle this issue and to tackle the stigma of addiction?
Leader of the House.
Well, I thank the Honourable Gentleman for raising this very important matter, and I will make sure that the Department for Health has heard what he has said. He will know, in addition to that strategy, there has been a huge amount of work going on in all parts of our healthcare system to ensure that the right interventions are getting to the right people. Notably alcohol screening services at hospitals, which are part of now, for many, the standard processes that go through when people are taken into accident and emergency, helping to identify those that need support and need these particular interventions, and of course an expansion of those services.
Thank you. That concludes proceedings on the business